So, as the holiday season was winding up, I kept hearing this rumor that I had written a hit list of students I didn't like. And I just brushed it away. I wouldn't write that.
Like
That's
a
so dumb.
manifesto or something?
Yeah, like I never saw this list, but like two or three people brought it up to me. I'm like, no, I didn't write anything like that.
Hello, everyone. This is Mark Chauppetta, and welcome to Covert to Overt. As everyone knows, I'm your resident private investigator that tends to probably talk too much about things that are supposed to be secret. I'm not the most secretive private investigator in the world, so we started this podcast. Those that also know me know that my life recently has been filled with some tragedy, um, losing one of my children, and I've been using this platform and this new show to help myself, but also to have a good time, maybe interviewing a bunch of different guests from different walks of life, whether it's law enforcement, ex mob members, gang members, podcasters, or today we have a movie director. Pretty cool stuff. So I want to welcome not only a movie director, but a friend of mine, André Joseph. Welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here, Mark. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How was the ride in?
Ride was, the usual morning traffic on a Friday. Everybody's trying to get to work or on vacation with this nice weather. So, just glad I'm here.
Glad you're here. And you came from
Staten Island.
Staten Island. How come you didn't take a ferry to Connecticut?
Oh my God, you kidding me? That would have been like 5 hours.
Oh, I don't know much about New York. I know it's pretty easy to get to as the crow flies from Massachusetts, but all it takes is one glitch or one accident, and it can be, you know, can be a pain in the ass to commute. So appreciate you coming on. You're a gentleman that I've known for a number of years. You are a wonderful, would you say, independent filmmaker? Is that how you would title yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So why don't you tell us or tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself and what you do? And I see your hat here, which has some proper promotional marketing there. We can talk about that as we go along, but just tell everyone about yourself and what you do and how you got here.
Yeah, so I run a production company called AJ Epics Productions. We've been in business now since 2008, although I've been making films going as far back as high school. And a lot of it started from me, my cousins, always writing different ideas for
Mhm.
skits and different short film ideas. And then we were on a summer vacation in South Carolina with my parents, and we made a few friends in a hotel. And my mom had just gotten a video camera that summer. This was probably before I went to eighth grade. And we begged her to use it. So she was like, okay, sure. We shot like a little murder mystery thing in a day in a hotel we stayed at. And that was kind of the beginnings of it to go from that, like the backyard filmmaking
Mm-hmm.
that everybody does, to then actually saying, I want to do this as a profession. So I did a summer course at New York Film Academy before my senior year in high school. Then I went to Emerson College of Boston, and that's where I got my not my master's, but my bachelor's degree in film.
Now,
And
the New
then,
York Film Academy, is there one of, aren't they based in different areas? One in Los Angeles, right?
yeah, there's several branches all across the world. There's the New York, there's the Los Angeles, there's one in Florida. I know there's one in London. So when I went, it was at the Dalton School up on the Upper West Side.
Did you find that a credible source? Because I know when I was shopping colleges with our producer off camera, my son Max, they sold us. We met with them out in Los Angeles, and it was a wonderful sales job that they did, but just didn't. It also seemed a little gimmicky or a little. I don't know. I mean, what's their credibility like in the movie industry? I mean, he ended up choosing a different route, going to Syracuse, but no dormitories. You go there, you have to find your own housing. Just tough transition if you're a kid going from the East Coast out to the West Coast. But they also seem to make a lot of promises that I don't know that necessarily come true to young aspiring filmmakers. So, did you said you did it as a summer program,
Yeah, I can only speak from that experience because this was 2001,
right?
and it was only just 4 weeks from Monday to Friday. And these were like long days
Mm-hmm.
because we were working with a number of instructors that did independent films and documentaries. One of which, Booker Madison, who I got a shout out to, he was one of my mentors
Okay.
there. Now he's doing movies for BET and for Tubi Originals.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that process was for me coming from just being in the backyard with my friends and just filming on video, not thinking about technique.
Right.
They showed me what it took to actually compose a shot, how to light, shoot on film, like literally celluloid with these old school Aeroflex cameras from
Mm-hmm.
World War II in black and white. And you can't have this thing exposed to the light. So I remember having to use a light meter. And these were things way over my head. But in the practice of actually like going out into Central Park and shooting our shorts, I started to kind of get the hang of how to actually block an actor and how to get consolidate shots so you're not wasting time on schedule. So I think it gave me a foundation for how I run my sets. I wouldn't say necessarily like, it's different now. There's probably programs where, yeah, you can get accredited. But for me, it was just, you do the 4 weeks and they give you a certificate.
Right. Right. You become a filmmaker after four
Yeah,
weeks.
now you can like actually show you have some credit.
Now, when people ask me, what does your son go to college for? Max, my youngest, is the only one that's in college. Everyone else is older and uh, established. But I say he goes to school for film. It's a fake major. Now, do you find that offensive?
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on. Everybody thinks that, to survive in any big city, you have to have, a city job with a 401k and eventually get married, have a picket fence. There's nothing wrong with that. There are
Yeah.
people who do a very good living that you should never look down on. But you also have to understand, too, that, the path of actually learning film doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you're going to go to Hollywood and start making millions of dollars and working on a Marvel film. It could be as much as taking those tools and you could use it for things like you see right now. People can promote their own content on social media. And if they're a really good influencer, they can make money on that. Or take those skills, put it into television production. There's always news networks that are hiring. I have friends that went to schools to study film who are now working for places like News 12, and there's nothing wrong with that. They
Right.
use those skills in other areas besides just making their own movies.
Right. And no disrespect to my child, because if I actually feel that way, I'm actually an accomplice because I'm helping foot the bill for Syracuse University, which is a lot of damn money.
Oh, yeah.
Which, and when I sent Max off to college, he came from that COVID era in high school, hadn't yet developed, as a young man. He's off camera right now, probably just rolling his eyes, and I can't really even see. But, and I felt like going to college and learning film, which is what he wanted, was going to be something he needed for his development as a young man, but also a filmmaker. Because at the same time, I also had an offer to send him out to California to work with an independent filmmaker and not even go to school. But I felt like he also kind of needed that social interaction in college, and most importantly, the ability to make connections and develop your own group of people within the industry that you can kind of grow with. So I assume you did that at Emerson College, right?
Oh, yeah. There were a number of people I worked with in school just through film classes. And also, you were able to volunteer, which is one thing that made me choose this over NYU, was that you would see flyers of, classes in film 2 or 3, they need crew.
Mm-hmm.
So I would sign up and I'd be like a boom operator for one shoot, or another shoot I might do some grip work.
Right.
Anything to just get my feet wet. And also at the same time, I'm meeting other students that I don't have class with to see what kind of connections we have. And a lot of people I know that I went to school with have gone on to do things. I know like this one guy, Larkin Semple, he did the movie Wolves. He was a cinematographer on that. and there was another gentleman that wanted to do episodes of House that I had a screenwriting class with. So yeah,
Well,
there was
you've
some.
gone on to do things yourself, so
Oh yeah, no, I don't
don't
look down at
yeah,
that.
you've gone on to do great things. You're an award-winning independent filmmaker, and you're doing it the grassroots way, which is the way I want my son to do it as well. Learn every aspect of the business, uh, do whatever you can, even if it's producing his father's podcast to get some experience in the business. And I always say that my child is my annuity, so he better succeed because I don't want to be doing this shit forever. So you actually well let's go back to your childhood. So what are you doing? Like making like little Lego action figures and shit and videotaping them and doing that type of stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was a big toy collector, and some days I still am. I still collect like the wrestling figures
I
that
know you
Mattel
do.
makes. Yeah,
I we're kind of like
yeah,
nerd brothers
that's
when
what
it when it comes to some of that stuff that my wife rolls her eyes at
Mhm.
because yeah, what was that movie? Well, it's kind of like the guys from Slapshot.
Oh yeah,
That scene in Slapshot where I think Paul Newman walks by
hmm,
and they're in the room and they're playing with trucks.
yeah.
You know, so I think there's, but I think that's healthy. I think it's healthy as a grown person to have that side to you, where you do kind of go back into your childhood. So you're making movies, you're filming. Now, did your parents were they? Tell me a little bit about your parents. How did you grow up? What type of a family? Were you a middle class, upper middle class, lower? Like what type of family? Like what did your parents think about you wanting to go and chase the dreams of Hollywood?
Yeah, so I'm an only child. I was born and raised in Staten Island, New York, and we lived in a very middle class upbringing. So a lot of my friends in the neighborhood, it was very diverse. It wasn't just like, I've hung out with black friends, I've hung out with white friends, Asian friends, Filipino. And so for me, I was just one of those kids that I was okay with school depending on the day,
Yeah.
but a lot of times I just wanted to go home, play video games, play with my action figures, watch whatever was on weekday mornings, like DuckTales or Real Ghostbusters. Like, but this is the thing. So I would watch those TV shows and those movies, and then I would want to buy the toys for them. And so I would take the toys and then I'd start role playing different story ideas, whether it was Star Wars or RoboCop or whatever. And so for me, I was already creating stories
Did your
in my
parents
head.
put you in therapy at that point?
I actually did do therapy, yeah, because I had some social issues. I
Okay.
had a little bit of a learning disability. I'm not going to lie,
Okay.
but I know one of my psychologists, he thought I was fine because I was going to a school with a lot of special needs kids, not like mentally challenged, but necessarily just people with speech issues, people that have, just learning disabilities of sorts. They might be dyslexic, they might be a little bit slow. But my therapist felt, no, he's fine. He just has a vivid imagination. And
Right.
that kind of carried into sort of what I do. But I thought I didn't really initially see myself as a director. I was always like, maybe I want to be president of the United States, or maybe I want to be a doctor, like, my dad who's a dentist, and my mom works at a printing company. But I figured my dad's a dentist,
All right. So
my
you
yeah,
grew up with a little dough in the family here. Dad's a dentist. Smile. Let me see those teeth.
they could be better.
Well, hey, so that town. What was the town you said you grew up in?
Staten Island. I was in
Staten
the
Island.
neighborhood of Stapleton.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So that's just a kind of a nice suburban neighborhood, and it's funny because we know each other, and you strike me. Well, how do I say this? All right. So one of my best friends growing up, black gentleman, he was adopted by
Mhm.
white parents. One of my dearest friends, but he is the least blackest person I know on the planet. he he got a scholarship, a full ride to play football,
Mhm.
and one of the things I always remember about him is that when he reported for football practice, it was culture shock to him. Here's this kid from the suburbs of Massachusetts that's listening to Duran Duran on his Walkman, and now all of a sudden he's in a locker room with these kids, from these inner city kids from Tallahassee, Florida, or wherever.
Right.
And I remember him calling me, of course, on the house phone, and saying, this is an adjustment, So you kind of strike me as someone like that who's a little bit more like I'd worry about you if I dropped you in the hood, put it that way.
Yeah, well,
Could you defend yourself and kind of?
if I really got myself amped up, probably.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean,
Could
yeah,
you go gangster is what I'm saying, Andre.
if I really wanted to get
Really?
yeah, I've had moments.
You get that switch.
Yeah,
All right.
but more so as I got older. I didn't
Yeah.
have it so much when I was a kid because I didn't really see myself
Yeah.
with my skin color. Like I love Michael Jackson, I loved Prince, and
Right.
MC Hammer, but then I watch MTV
Right.
and I might be into like Collective Soul or
Right.
Duran Duran type of music. It's just I was very eclectic and
And
still
that's
am.
the way it should be with people.
Yeah.
Like honestly, that's the way it should be, and that's the way it always should be, with people. And no, I mean, don't think I'm targeting you
No,
here
no,
by
not at
any
all,
means.
no.
I just, because I know you, and I know we have a lot of similarities with. You would have blended into my neighborhood, is what I'm trying to say. We probably would have been hanging out, even though I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah.
I mean, visually, you probably look like we're the same age from a very youthful-looking 57.
Yeah, I can see that.
Can you see that? But my teeth aren't as good
Well.
as yours. They've been knocked out too much. All right, so kudos to your parents for allowing you as a child to express yourself and not worry. And yeah, they sent you to speak with someone, which is great. But it seems like parents nowadays, if they, if their child's not, hitting certain milestones, that they're quick to maybe try to put them on medicine or something, when sometimes you just kind of let the process kind of work itself out with the child, because maybe they're just unique in their own way, and they'll grow into their own skin, or especially being creative in things, or if they're a little, hyperactive or overactive sometimes, I think that's not a bad thing, I don't know. I just feel like as a society, often we look at kids and you just want to try to fix them, when, like yourself, you're just being expressive. I did the same thing as a child. I would make tapes and sing in my room and play with my action figures. I was doing. I'm the OG. I'm the original. Like I started it, and you just, kind of followed in my lead, even though we didn't know each other. But that's a great thing, and it's funny. As I always thought there was something maybe wrong with me, because I was very artistic and very expressive, and I was always curious about myself. And me as a licensed private investigator, and I was adopted as a child. So that also kind of put that little stigma on me. But me as a private investigator, when I got to the age in my early 20s, and I had opened my detective agency up, one of my first cases I ever did was I located my biological family, my biological mother. So I opened up a file, went to the court, petitioned the court, got the judge to sign off on it, was able to get very brief information, like not a lot. I wasn't even able to, of course, there were no cell phones back in, like 1992 I did this. Went in with a pencil, a piece of paper. I had 15 minutes in a room. I could write down whatever I could write down in that 15 minutes. And all I got was my biological mother's name and the area that she lived, and the adoption agency that I was adopted out of, which happened to be Catholic Charities. Ended up doing some research. Of course, there's no Google, there's no internet back then. Knew I was adopted out of this certain suburb north of Boston. Went to the libraries. Knew my name at birth was Jason Lentini. That was my name. Do I look like a Jason Lentini to you? So got all the phone books, copied all the Lentini families, put a file together, put a script together, called 40, 50 people. Hi, my name's Mark Chauppetta. I was adopted in May of 1969. My biological mother's name was Nancy. Does anyone know her? On like the 50th person, I get, oh my God, it's baby Jason. And then the floodgates open. Now, what I'm getting at here is I now found out that my biological mother was an artist. I'm like, all right, so now I'm starting to connect the dots here. There's these creative DNA in my body here. So it kind of came full circle and made me kind of understand a lot of things about myself. Why I was so expressive and why I was kind of the black sheep of the family as a child. And why I'm doing a podcast here right now, sitting with you, forcing my child to produce it. So I just think creativity in your youth, and I think for you, it's amazing because you had a vision at a young age. A lot of kids kind of like they get to senior year, junior, senior year in high school. Their advisors or their counselors are like, all right, well, it's time to maybe think about what you want to do with your life. But that's a big ask for a kid that's 17 years old. What do you want to do with your life? Because who the hell knows what they want to do with their life at 17?
Right.
Other than Andre Joseph, who was playing with action figures, who knew what he wanted to do from a young age. So that must have been a great gift for you, right?
I think so. I mean, and there were challenges to that too. A lot of adversity, not from my family because they supported everything that I did, but certainly if I went and tried to get certain people in my class to, hey, you want to, act in a movie, they would look at me sideways, or I would find, like I would do, for example, in my economics class, I actually did a whole collage of what my production company would look like. This is compared to anybody else that was talking about maybe opening up a mom and pop bakery
Right.
type of a deal. And I could see, I don't even want to like mention names because, but
Feel free, throw him under the bus.
no, this guy's like a year. Yeah, I'm not even going to say who, but I could see this one kid in the back of the room. He's looking at this, goes like, oh, this project sucks. And I was already getting kind of irritated, like I want to throw something, but I couldn't. So,
But that's what drives you, right? Isn't that what
oh
you
yeah,
that's like that bulletin board material when you're playing sports and someone says something about another team going into the championship game and you use that as your drive and your inspiration.
and that's never stopped because it's whether I've tried to put out that vision to people at a young age and get laughed at, or when I was cutting my teeth on PA jobs,
Yeah.
on commercials, or doing other
Yeah.
people's independent films, and if I didn't do something,
Yeah.
or they looked at me a certain way, then I would get looked down upon. I get ridiculed.
Well, we both know, and I know through one of your movies, Dismissal Time, which we'll talk about in a minute, that kids suck and kids are cruel. It took me years to realize that it necessarily wasn't the kid. It was where they were raised and maybe their parents. And if you had a kid acting out in school and if they were bullying, they were probably having issues within the four walls of their own home. So obviously they need some accountability for their actions, but I'm sure that most of those people come from, bad situations. We had this kid in our town who's a friend of mine to this day that drove around with a on his bike with a fire horn on his bike and would wear a red fire helmet, and everyone teased him because he was just obsessed with wanting to be a fireman from a young age, and people would tease him because kids suck and they're cruel, and well, that guy grew up to be the chief of fire in that town and is now retired, living a very comfortable life, while a lot of these high school heroes that have amounted to nothing are still working for maybe just above minimum wage, excuse me. So that kid had a vision and he stayed true to it. See, I was one of those guys growing up that, I don't know, I mean, when you say bullying, and, I want to get into bullying,
Sure.
my sisters bullied the shit out of me growing up. I was a toe walker. They'd call me tippy toes. I was allergic to peanut butter. They'd chase me around the house with a knife with peanut butter on it, say, I'm going to kill you. That might have been healthy bullying. I don't know if there is healthy bullying. Maybe you can tell me. But, I know bullying has got so many different layers now than what it used to have. But so in one of your movies, you made a short film called Dismissal Time, which is a very powerful short film. It's a teaching film, and it's loosely based on your life. So why don't you tell us about that?
So when first went to high school, I was going to a Catholic school in my last 4 years of junior high, and I didn't want to go to an all boys school.
All right, stop right there. Give me an Our Father.
Oh no, that we're not going there. Then they'll really come after
That would
me.
be a Hail Mary if you did it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So I wanted to go to a co-ed school, and so I went to maybe the only school on the island not far from me that was on the South Shore, near the Sun Island Mall. I'm not even
Yeah.
going to say the name because it's probably different administration now.
Feel free, throw them under the bus.
Yeah, well, already one person called me, and I'm like, no, I just...
All right.
So anyway, I had, up until that point, I didn't think about my race when I went to school. I just got along with everybody
Yeah.
fine. But here was the case where I was one of the few black kids in my class. So in a area that's mostly Italian American,
Yeah.
they look at you as, oh, you're from that side of the hood, so you must be into Wu-Tang Clan. You must be, hanging out with the brothers like that.
Yeah.
And that wasn't me. So long story short, there was one girl that I had a couple of classes with that I was kind of into, and she really wasn't into me like that.
Was she a white girl or black girl?
She was a white girl.
White girl, okay.
And her friends also kind of like laughed and ridiculed at me for no reason other than maybe just I wasn't the athlete or anybody super popular to impress this girl.
Mm.
So as the holiday season was winding up, I kept hearing this rumor that I had written a hit list of students I didn't like. And I expressed, like, I wouldn't write that. That's
Like
so
a
dumb.
manifesto or something?
Yeah, like I never saw this list, but like two or three people brought it up to me. I'm like, no, I didn't write anything like that. I've been busy trying to get ready because I was doing a performing arts program
Yeah.
there. So I was like trying to get ready for this show that I'm supposed to do. Now, a few months pass, the Columbine shooting happens.
Oh.
So now every school in America is on edge and looking
Yeah.
at every trigger and every sign of what's going to start the next mass shooting. And I get called up to the guidance counselor's office the day after the Columbine shooting. I don't know what's going on. I didn't do anything, but the guidance counselor, he shows me a physical copy of this hit list with my email address written on top, and all these kids, even kids that I didn't have issues with as kids that I wanted to kill. Like, I didn't write this nonsense.
Right.
I don't know where this is coming from. So this, they're going to do an investigation. So they bring down my parents to question them. They start questioning all my teachers. And then they were kind of like, I guess once they spoke to my parents and they were giving them the riot act, they basically said, look, we'll just make an announcement and we'll try to put this behind everybody. They do an assembly, but the assembly isn't even about that. It's about this school dance that's coming up. So they pretty much swept it under the rug. There was no exoneration.
Right.
And that really pissed me
Right.
the F off to the point where once the year was over, I said, I'm going to go to this public school near my house. I'm just going to blend in and I'm not going to be standing out in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to do my stuff, get into college, and pursue my career.
Well, as sucky as that was and traumatic for you, and obviously to this day it carries with you, you realize that if that was in today's day, you just would have been guilty until
Yeah.
you could prove that you were innocent. Then your reputation would have been ruined. And then when you were found to have not done that, then, that ends up in the back page in the newspaper about yay big.
Right. And the funny thing is my parents even considered going to the paper. We didn't, but
Yeah.
it was just at that point we didn't want the trouble and the exposure like
Was
that.
was it detailed as to what you were going to do to each person, or?
As I remember, because when he showed me the physical copy, there were like these two sides of the paper.
Yeah.
So it was like people I want to kill, and then it was like a drop down list of names. And then on the other side of the paper, it was people I don't want to kill. It was like some of my friends and the people I never even heard of. And it's been believed the real person who made this list did eventually like kind of confessed to it,
Really?
but there was no accountability
But no
held.
apology to you?
No, nothing.
Did you know what their motive was other than the fact that maybe you liked some girl that didn't like you, or did like what do you think the motive behind it was? You think it was race related?
I think it was a couple of factors. I do think race stands out. I think the fact that I was into this girl and
Yeah.
I was not like the standout in that
Yeah.
school. And also too, I think because the school I went to before that, I was not a popular kid. I
Yeah.
was just like you have the kids that play on the basketball
Yeah.
team, and then there's everybody else that's just
Yeah.
academics and playing with toys and video games.
Right.
Now, I think for me, once I got into this school because I was in a performing arts
Right.
program, I started to show a little more personality in my class. I started to speak out more.
Mm.
If a question was asked by the teacher, I would answer it.
Sure.
So I think maybe I started to stick out too much like a sore thumb, and I didn't sound like a typical black kid from Stapleton.
Right. Right. Jeez. Well, and these things that have happened to you, I mean, everything that happens to anyone in life, it helps shape you. And all you have to do is really kind of take that negative. Like I'm dealing with it now. I'm dealing with the loss of my
Sure.
child. And I talk about it a lot on these shows because it's relevant and it's always going to be relevant in my life. And it's traumatic and I'm devastated. But, you know, you have to push forward and, you have to, be able to, especially for me, I'm trying to do something cathartic to try to help with the grief and not just sit there and wallow in the grief and you know wash away that on one of those waves that's drowning me. But you have used this as an inspiration, as a motivation to write your script Dismissal Time, and I believe that's when I first met you. A friend of mine who's an actor, who's a character on The Sopranos, is put me in touch with one of your female actresses that was had a role in that.
Yeah,
And
Lisa Regina.
Regina, right? Lisa Regina, and that's how I got introduced to you. Because at that time, I was, Max, my youngest son, was dabbling a little bit in the acting, and this is like full blown fucking COVID time.
Oh
Like,
my God,
like,
yeah.
like wearing masks, in between takes, and you were kind enough to give Max an opportunity to be on camera and help being part of his journey and helping inspire him to go on to, hopefully becoming a wonderful filmmaker like yourself. So what was making that movie like for you, and especially when it was such a personal tone to it, like,
Yeah, it was hugely cathartic for me every
yeah,
scene that we did because I wrote that script while, after George Floyd's murder, all the protests that broke out in the country.
yeah,
And I remember I went on Facebook, and this is what kind of sparked me to write the script.
mm,
I actually wrote about my experience from that period. And then somebody DM'd me who was like, "Oh, that's fake. That's fake unity, and they're a hate group and this and that." And I said, "Well, you know what? I'm not going to answer this. I'm just going to write my story, and I'm just going to actually tell it." So
right,
obviously, I had to fictionalize certain events, but a lot of it of what happened was true. And then I lifted other things that I didn't talk about on the press tour for this film, particular racial profiling incidents with the police
right,
and other issues that I've encountered where my race was a factor. And so I felt this was the only way for me because I still had nightmares about that time period of
yeah,
feeling like it was having an effect on trying to get into relationships with girls
yeah,
or, being social in settings where I don't know people.
right,
So it was really like this PTSD I felt like I had to deal with through
yeah,
making the movie. And yeah, shooting through COVID was a creative choice because of the fact that I said, I'm not going to wait 3 years to do this. I got to do this now.
yeah. It
And
was here. It was like
yeah,
that fire was burning in you, and you needed to act upon it.
yeah, man. And I mean, like getting your son to play like one of the bullies and, like having those three guys.
Which is really
Yeah.
acting because he's the furthest from a bully.
I know, like far from, but that was the thing about that movie that I think was such a miracle because I've had other shoots where, certain actors get a little testy
Yeah,
and crew members that are just there to get paid and they don't
yeah,
really give a crap about the project. everybody on this film really wanted to do it because they believed in the story.
Yeah.
And so even down to those people that represented the folks that I can't stand
Mm.
were 180 degrees from what those characters were. I mean, yeah, your son certainly stands out in that way. This actress Sarah Dohansky, who plays one of the mean girls in the
Yeah.
movie, such a sweetheart.
Right.
But we made her like a real, biatch in this movie. So really, everybody kind of relished those roles in a
Yeah.
way that I could sit with them and say, "This is what I remember seeing, and this is how I think you could play it."
Right.
And yeah, there were moments I remember once on set because Lisa Regina's character is a composite of a few teachers I had that actually did stick up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a moment she's sitting with the character that's based on me, played by Oliver Feaster, and they don't say anything. They're just having lunch because he just got
Yeah.
pranked with cheese on his seat by the
Yes.
bullies.
I remember watching that scene.
Yeah, and like I almost broke down because I remember that very moment with a similar teacher that I had in 6th or 7th grade where that very thing happened. And I was like, yeah, it really hit me
So
in
you
that
built in
moment.
some other negative life experiences into that movie and kind of made it, you said that incident
Yeah,
happened at another time, another point of your life when you were younger, and you worked that into this film.
yeah, because I mean, yes, the baseline was this hit list frame
Yeah.
up, but the other incidents, they did really affect my self-esteem at points.
Yeah.
How it feels when, as I mentioned before, you go and you're in a party setting and you don't want to talk to anybody because you're afraid you're going to get humiliated, or
Mm.
you get rejected by a girl and then you start thinking, is it my race, is it because of my
Mm.
personality, and then you start bringing yourself down. And that's just and I've had my breakdowns at times because of that sort of thing where your heart gets broken.
Mm.
And it takes a lot of courage and sometimes even a support system, whether it's family or those friends that do stand out, to lift you out of that
You're
darkness.
talking to a guy who's on his third marriage
Oh
here.
my God, yeah. I'm not even
Yeah.
nowhere near
Yeah.
it.
Well, when did you hit that point in life, when you felt kind of free of some of that trauma and you got that confidence back and you felt comfortable in your own skin? Like when did that kind of turn around for you? Was it, because lots of times you go to school sucks, when you're younger. And I know I'm sounding negative, but one of the great things is when you can leave your small town and you can reinvent yourself somewhere else.
Mhm.
So you go off to Emerson College and you can kind of reinvent yourself again and be the person that you probably should have been all along
Right.
if it wasn't for a couple of racist knuckleheads, when you were younger.
Yeah.
So did that kind of happen when you transitioned into college?
Uh, yes and no, because when I went to Emerson, I had that PTSD when I
Mm,
first went there.
yeah,
I saw like it was a majority white school because
yeah,
it's in the heart of Boston and Boston's history.
yeah,
So I was kind of nervous in the beginning,
yeah.
but fortunately, they had a group called Ebony, which was like the black organization in the school. So I hung out with a lot of those kids sometimes, and
Was Ivory there too?
oh, imagine they're fighting to keep Ivory out.
Yeah.
Just keep the Ebony. That's it.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Oh, that's fine. Now I'm looking at your hat,
Yeah.
the Last Vendetta, and this is a movie that you're very proud of. But let me ask you, and I'm kind of being funny here, but I don't think the Last Vendetta movie that you did is actually your last vendetta. You know why? You know what I do for a living, right?
Yeah, I do.
I'm a private investigator.
Hmm.
I can hunt people down, right?
Yeah.
Get me a manifesto. I'll get you the names and addresses of all those people from youth,
Oh.
and we will put a DVD on their doorstep with a nice little thank you note saying, "Thank you for inspiring me to be better than you are, you slob."
So I'm going to tell you a
You're
true.
not that type of a guy.
No, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a true
But
story.
it'd be a great sequel to this movie.
It would.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a true story
Yeah.
though. So after the movie came out and it started getting publicity, the girl that I liked did try to reach out to me. I'm not going to name her name here because she might start flipping out. But she saw that I may have used some version of her name in the film,
Ooh.
even though I changed all the names.
Yeah.
And
Guilty conscience syndrome.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like I'm like, okay, because she sends me this email. It sounds like, oh, congrats on the film. I need to
Yeah.
talk to you.
But
But
yeah.
so I'm already like, I'm working out. I'm like literally trying to like get amped up, knowing this is either going to go south or maybe I could kind of be level with it. So I get on the phone with this girl and like she told me, did I, you know, there's not a lot of people with my name that
Right.
are in
We'll talk
my
about that in a
bloodline.
second, but go ahead.
Yeah. And so I said, well, no, I just use it because it was very unique. And that was that. But I didn't try to like flip my shit or try to get all this attitude. It's like, no, actually, I'm kind of glad you called because this actually gives me the closure I needed.
Right. And did you like look her up on Facebook and see if she put 300 pounds on?
Well, I know she got married, had a kid,
Yeah.
but yeah, she's kind of quaint.
All right. I was just saying, karma's a bitch, you know?
Yeah, well, some of those people, my God, yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't end up too well.
I don't mean to sound like a
No,
vindictive person.
no, each his own. I'm trying to be a
Yeah.
good Catholic.
The Last Vendetta,
Yeah.
uh, crime movie, action movie, um, and it's a prequel. Is that what it is, or
It's a sequel. It's a third installment of a trilogy.
third installment of a trilogy? And I like your hat, and I like the little play on words with the end. Uh, and yeah, it's on Tubi right now.
Hmm.
And is it getting some good hits and views and good feedback?
Oh yeah, we got this thing not only here in the U.S. but in Canada and the U.K. and
Yeah.
Scotland, and so people are digging it because it's we don't get a lot of movies now that have that grit and the
Yeah.
heart mixed together.
Right.
And so I didn't try to look at it as, oh, we're doing Lethal Weapon and Miami Vice now. It
Right.
was more like, this is a rite of passage.
Yeah.
This is the final chapter for these three guys we've been following
Yeah.
and where they're ultimately going to end up based on how they were first established.
Yeah. All right. So you obviously did it on a, did you call it a shoestring budget? You did it on a,
Yeah.
it's not even a micro budget, right?
It's somewhere in the neighborhood of a micro budget, shooting budget. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you do an action film like that when you need to have special effects? You know, and obviously in a crime action movie, when your budget's not like what you would really want, you know, for a movie like that. Is there AI involved? Is it just some sort of visual editing? Like, how did you put that together?
Well, it was actually while COVID was going on and I was making Last Vendetta, I was watching a lot of YouTube tutorials.
Yeah.
And there were guys like Ian Hubert and another guy that does like Blender videos for the program Blender who were showing how you could do CGI and make it look photorealistic and not be spending millions of dollars.
Right.
Probably just a lot of tedious time and processing power with your computer, but it was more accessible now than it was like when I did the first two movies. So when we started shooting, I wrote the script in a way where I knew how the effects were going to be done before we filmed. So it was a lot of compositing, a lot of the like the car chase we have. I just sat in the car, we green screened the windows, and then I hired a VFX artist out in New Zealand to do all the VFX work
Right.
through sites like Upwork and Fiverr, and you know, spending months on that, knowing that was going to be the most work in the film. And in terms of the action, we were lucky. First of all, our lead actor Chris Carula, his father is retired NYPD, so he's also an armorer for films. He came in on set anytime we had prop weapons. He
Mm-hmm.
checked it. We weren't going to have any incidents,
Mm-hmm.
so that kept us safe. And our main villain Mako-san, who I got a shout out to, not only was the villain in the film, but also was the stunt choreographer.
Oh, cool.
So he practiced with like the two girls at the end for.
He's an intimidating looking guy.
Oh my God, yeah, huge, tall,
I wouldn't
and
want to meet him in an alley.
you know, at first because
He's probably sweet as
he
pie,
is.
right?
Oh my God, yeah. So
It's like me. I look extremely intimidating, but I'm one of the nicest guys you've ever met.
I know, like with him, we met because I did a GI Joe fan film, and I had to change an actor, and I saw his credits. Like he worked on the real GI Joe movies, a stuntman, and I'm like, he's gonna do this film. So
Yeah.
he comes in, he's working with everybody with the stunts, and like, you know, I got this project. I think it'd be great for the villain. First day of shooting, he tells me before he gets on set he's gonna be a character. So I'm like,
Mm.
uh oh. because I've worked with some method actors that are difficult to
Right.
work with. But he comes in, he was like half method, but also
Yeah.
he knew when to turn it off, work
Right.
with everybody, joke around, have fun.
Hmm.
And he was just such an incredible joy to work with because everybody on set felt safe. And he kept it light even as those scenes were as intense. And
Yeah.
time was always not on our side when we're
Right.
shooting in
Right.
the hot sun and you're
Yeah.
fighting with the sun.
Yeah. No, I watched the film. It's a great film, and I am a huge fan of Tubi, and I probably handle it better than most people, as does my wife, because I grew up in an era where I don't mind like watching ads or commercials and
Sure.
stuff. I know a lot of people struggle. There might be an ad-free Tubi. I'm not even sure if you want.
Yeah,
Is
I
there if you
think
want to pay for it?
I think you can,
Yeah.
but I never really looked into it.
Yeah. So it doesn't bother me. Whatever, 60 seconds of commercials.
Yeah.
That's about all I need with my wife to, get a little frisky at my age. Sorry,
There's
Max.
some heavy stuff on there, yeah.
Yeah, 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 right. So no, I'm super proud of you. It's a good film, and and it's tough because, well, actually, one of the questions I want to ask you, and I know that you're the jack of all trades. When you're an independent filmmaker, you need to produce, you need to edit, and post production, all the shit you guys do. But you also act in your films. Now, is that something you enjoy doing, or is it something you do out of necessity because you are on a budget?
Well, I mean, I've done it since the start
Well,
when it was just a matter of,
theater.
yeah, and
Yeah.
theater classes and just, you want to get your friends over and not everybody's around. So sometimes you shoot by yourself or
Mm.
you have to just run the camera and jump into the shot.
Right.
And so as I got older, yeah, it definitely got difficult because you're having to get into character, then you got to get back into your director hat and
Right.
start focusing. So I've been able to be blessed, first of all, to have assistant directors like my friend Albert Albanese on set to
Mhm.
watch my back
Right.
and make sure that I'm giving my full on the set. And also writing my scripts, so it's not like I'm in every single scene. Like I could maybe have a day or two where I'm just behind the camera.
Yeah.
But I'll be perfectly honest, and I'm probably, you're the first person I'll probably tell, but I only see myself really doing 2 or 3 more films left where I would maybe be the lead
Right.
and then just find like a John Bernthal or Dwayne Johnson or even like a Chris Carula to work with as
Right.
my leads. Because now I've started to feel it with my age, when you deal with going to the doctor sometimes,
How old are you? 40 what?
42.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah,
I'm
but
15 years older than you.
I know, but you start things you gotta start watching out for early on.
Yeah, right.
And
I'm not going to go into my prostate PSA. That was 2 episodes ago. So 2 more films that you feel like you're going to do, and then you're
maybe
going to
3,
really.
but yeah,
You feel like the quality of your movies will change if you're putting your 100% focus behind the camera?
I think so because I love working with actors and watching them and giving them the kind of direction that makes me really feel that cathartic experience of
Yeah.
putting the words down on paper and then actually seeing them bring it to
Right.
life.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few scripts I have that I think would be better suited for like maybe 2 contrasting actors or like a wrestling movie where I can't get in a wrestling shape. I'm not going to go and
Well,
be
who
like
is
those
the
guys.
actor that is wrestling currently on the independent circuit? Wonderful actor. He played the
Paul Walter Hauser.
yes,
Who I
Paul
met. Wonderful man.
Paul Walter Hauser.
Yeah.
He's not, a picture of fitness, and he's getting in there and doing it. So come on, there's still hope for you.
Yeah, I mean,
You could take some bumps.
I would never rule anything out. Like I'd still maybe do a side part here or there, but I'll even be transparent since I'm talking with you and
Yeah.
I'm shooting the shit. But the Western that I've been trying to get off for quite a while, I had a particular incident last summer where we thought we had a guy that could help us with the money.
Hmm.
But as soon as I said, well, it's going to be me and Chris Carula, he's like, oh, no, they're not going to go for that. They
Right.
want stars. Yet this same guy goes and says he's got a script that has Samuel L. Jackson and Anthony Hopkins with letter of interest, and he can't get the money.
Right. Yeah, that's that. I was going to ask you that question. Is that, are you willing to step aside for, you know, I mean, not exactly the same thing, but
Sure.
Sly Stallone had his integrity, and they didn't want him playing Rocky, right? So
Yeah, I mean that was definitely a special case where
yeah.
he knew
I mean, if
there
this
was.
is your project and your baby and you want to act in it and you think this is the movie that's going to take you into the next stratosphere of movie making, don't sell out. Be yourself and then find that money from someone that sees your worth and sees your value.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I also believe you got to pick and choose your battles too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So let me ask you, are you still currently going to, and this is a personal question, but
sure.
um, mental health is a big deal. And I'm so
Yeah.
open talking about it. And I go to my therapist every week, and one of the things that we've determined about me, which is interesting, is that I often stay in character to keep me from, really hyper focusing on, some of the
Mm,
traumatic things in my life, which, or I slip into my own little private island of the past. One of my most therapeutic, crazy things to do, which you may understand, but most people won't,
sure.
is after a long day of work, I will just sit down. I'll watch some light TV that I can really focus on, and it's usually the $6 Million Man.
Oh yeah.
What Lee Majors has done for me therapeutically, with no copayment, you know, it's a gift that keeps on giving. So, are you still going to, to therapy or talking to someone, or are you just kind of focusing yourself, doing it through your work?
uh,
If you don't have to answer,
No, it's a little bit of both. So I do have a therapist that I don't really go and see personally anymore because
hmm
she's retired. But I've had some moments where I would have to get on the phone with her and be like, "This is what
tune
I'm."
up, little tune up.
Yeah, because you go through certain things
Yeah,
as an adult that
yeah,
are
yeah.
sometimes you need somebody to talk to,
Hell
and
yeah.
I encourage that.
You got me. You know that, right?
Yeah, of
You can call me
course.
anytime, and I got
Yeah,
you. We're ebony and ivory.
of course.
Right? I forget how the rest of the song goes, but that's one of my favorite songs.
I love it
I
too.
absolutely love that song. So, funny story, which I think. Well, first, let me ask you: did you enjoy the Hulk Hogan documentary?
I actually didn't see the whole thing yet.
You didn't. Well, shame on you. That was your only homework I asked you
I
to do
know.
prior to the show. No, I don't think I asked you to do that. But all right, so finish watching it. One of the things that I took away from it, which I thought was pretty cool, and I may have told you this, is that the days before Hulk's funeral, which was featured on this documentary, a friend of mine uh, asked me if I could pick up Jimmy in the Mouth of the South Heart at the airport. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't think I've been, like, there's no you porn that would excite me more than going to pick up Jimmy in the Mouth of the South Heart. I mean, all right, so that's just kind of the nerd that I am. So I go pick him up at Boston Logan Airport, and he's the sweetest, nicest guy in the world. And he's talking, hey baby. And he was just in for the night doing an appearance. And he had to fly out the next day to go to Hulk's funeral. He's in my Jeep. Hulk's his best friend. He had just written Hulk's eulogy.
No.
And he asked if he could rehearse it in the Jeep with me while we drove to the location I was dropping him off at. You know, crazy, crazy. Like, hey, baby, you mind? I gotta do the eulogy tomorrow, baby. He's like, what do you think? And I'm like in tears. Like I have all these emotions going on. Like
Right.
I'm sort of a little excited, but also sad listening to that eulogy. And and then prior to dropping him off, he wanted to grab breakfast, so we actually sat down and had some nice conversation. And what a sweetheart of a guy. And I know you're a wrestling nerd like
Mhm.
I am, and I mean, I 15 years older than you. I probably should have matured past some of this stuff, but I think we have a lot of common ground when it comes to certain things and in the arts and filmmaking and I think we're both dreamers. So what's your next film? The Western, is that the next one on the agenda that you're trying to get funding for?
If we could find the funds, I mean, that's the one I would really love to
And
do.
is that the one you want to? Is that one of the two or three that you want to act in?
That's one,
Because the
and
character is written
yeah, it was
kind
written
of for a black actor and a white actor, the two
right.
main roles. I read the script.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely a
Really good
top
script, by
one,
the way.
and yeah, that's all the more reason we want to do it because the script's been getting all these awards, and I don't want to just have it go to
So
waste.
you're submitting the script alone to film
Yeah,
festivals, and you win awards for the script.
yeah. Although it hasn't gotten to the point where anybody's like, "Oh yeah, we love this. Let's."
Right. Yeah,
We
I
just
know.
get the notice of, "Oh yeah, we want to buy a movie." We haven't shot it
Right,
yet.
right, right, right. Yeah, give us some money, we'll shoot it.
Right.
All right. So if someone comes to you and if it wasn't you, who would you want to play that role of you that you wrote for yourself?
I've thought about. It's not Michael B. Jordan. I'd rather give it to like a Damson Idris, somebody that still needs to get that boost in the business.
Right, right. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And what are you working on now other than this? You're freelance writing, right?
Well, I don't do that anymore, unfortunately, because I started my own studio
Okay.
in.
Tell us where the studio is about it and how people can get in touch with you.
So yeah, we have our residency at Vintage City Studios, located in Elizabeth, New Jersey. We're not just doing our own film productions; we're also recording podcasts. We're helping small businesses with doing social media content. We're also doing teaching programs for cinematography and editing and basic film production.
Okay.
And so, if you go to my website, www.andremjoseph.com, all the information.
Superstar producer will edit that shit in.
Yeah.
That's how it works, right? See, he just said yes. All right, so you're doing that, and are you doing that because of the shift in the industry and how New Jersey's becoming, really popular now, where they're filming? Are you just trying to keep yourself relevant in that area, also?
Yeah, it's becoming a huge hub for a lot of creatives that are leaving Hollywood and looking at New Jersey now with Netflix's new studio,
Gotcha.
Lionsgate. And then you have the expos now. So people are really starting to invest in the Garden State. And I want to be kind of in the heart of it where I've still got my parents, I'm still
Yeah,
close with them.
good for you.
And, I just feel that we have that opportunity now to really expand our horizons and the projects we want to do. We don't have to like go pulling teeth with finding locations because our space, we have a lot we could work with.
Well, you've been good to me. We've become, really good friends over the years. You've been good to my son, and I enjoy talking with you. I enjoy talking to like-minded people.
Yeah, same.
Like I mean, I know when I was a senior in high school, like you were three, but I probably would have hung out with you.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I didn't really find my niche until actually when I got out of high school, when I started
Yeah,
to find friends that were still in senior year
yeah,
that were doing what I was doing. They were
right.
getting out, they were making little movies and
Yeah,
partying. Well, I mean, not heavy duty partying sometimes,
yeah.
but yeah, just a lot of those guys I still hang out with now because those are like my friends for life.
I still hang out with my high school friends,
Yeah.
like, and a lot of those people that have stood by my side, through all the marriages and through all the
Oh, sure.
through all the
Yeah.
heartache and all the things I've been through. And I look forward to watching your journey. Maybe someday you and Max, our producer, can collaborate on something and work together.
Well, we got some ideas from Max.
You got
So
some
yeah,
ideas for
pretty
Max?
soon.
Okay, well, he's I still own him in a way.
Yeah.
So
Work it out.
not to put a racial tone on this, but he's still mine for the time being. I haven't released him to society yet, so we'll talk.
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank you for coming on. You're
Thank
the
you,
man,
Mike.
and everyone, thanks for listening to Covert to Overt.